Hey everybody, it's Jane Gay, host of the Pursuing Excellence podcast here. Just want to take a minute and say, if you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and many different platforms. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Time Out with J-Dog. It's Jaden here with the podcast. And here today with Coach Anthony Mitchell, played in the NFL for the Baltimore Ravens, won a Super Bowl, also coached football. Great guy. And appreciate him coming on the podcast with me. Thank you, Coach. Really appreciate your time.
Oh, man, you're welcome, man. I'm glad you reached out for me to do it, man.
Yes, sir. We're gonna start off, Coach. I want to ask you, where did you play high school football at?
Westlake High School, the Westlake High School, man.
Yes, sir. The Lions. All right. Coach, so who recruited you in high school?
You said what?
I said, who recruited you in high school?
I had a couple schools recruiting me, but they was recruiting me to play safety. Well, I played quarterback in high school.
Oh, really?
So I wanted to go to a school so I could play quarterback. But all that changed as soon as I went to college.
Yes, sir. Okay, I didn't know that you played quarterback in high school. Wow.
Yeah, I played quarterback in high school. I had a lot of D1 schools like North Carolina, Clemson at the time, South Carolina, Wake Forest, Purdue, Indiana, schools like that recruit me for a safety position.
Okay, and who did you end up choosing?
I wanted to major in architecture, and they had a great architecture program.
Oh, okay. All right. So in college football, Coach, talk about how it's so much a different transitions between high school football and then the college football and then ultimately to NFL. But starting off, the transition from high school to college, what was that like for you?
Well, in high school, you're dealing with your school guy. They only put the people on the field that's at the school. So when you go to college, you're dealing with more athletes because each school go out there and recruit their own, and they recruit their guys that they feel fit to play on the college level. Because you play football, you said a lot of kids don't make it to college because they either the grades or they just not what the school is looking for. So you got to be a special guy to even go to college and play college football. I mean, you gotta have some type of fight in you, and willing to work to get better to play on that level. And that's the difference, man. You got a lot more time on your hands, so you got to be able to balance your time because you're not in school 5 classes a day in college compared to high school. So it's a lot different than playing on the field, man. You got to do with some grown men. I mean, some it's different. Different aspects of life, man.
Yes, sir. And Coach, talk about how your mindset. Like, what was your every day you were going out there to practice? What was your mindset like? What were you thinking in your head when you went out to practice every day?
Well, it's something I tell my kids. It's something I told my boys when they were playing. If you're gonna do it, you might well give it 110% because you don't get that time back. You see, so I just had a work ethic on me to where before I do anything in college, whether I was partying in high school, I actually started in high school to where if I was going to go out and do something outside of my sport, I was going to at least go run a mile or two or go jogging or do something that made me feel like I got better for the day. And that was my thing going on to the field. Make sure you get better today.
Yeah, every day is an opportunity. That's how I look at it.
Every day is an opportunity to get better.
That's right. And Coach, so after college, of course, describe the whole process with you're going into the NFL and everything like that. Tell us about that.
So the plan at Tuskegee, like I said, I wanted to major in architecture. My plans was to play in the NFL.
Okay.
And I had an old lineman coach called Coach Black. We, when I first got to Tuskegee, we weren't as good as we were by the time I left. But when we got the new coaches, one of the coaches used to come up to me all the time and say, "Hey, Mitchell, you go to outside linebacker, you go to the league." I'm like, "Man, whatever." He keeps saying he won't speak to me, he won't say nothing. He'll just say, "Coach Mitchell, you go to outside linebacker." He said, "Mitchell, you go to outside linebacker, you go to the league." I'm like, "Okay, whatever, man." And so scouts, I got benched playing safety. So I went to Tuskegee as a quarterback. I ended up switching over because I didn't like the offense. And I played corner when I switched over. I moved to safety. And when the new coaches, I was still they moved me to safety. So I got beat. So next year I'm on the bench. And he kept saying, "Go outside linebacker, you go to the league." So we getting beat by a team. They throw me in there. And I played lights out. So after a while, scouts start coming up to the school to look at me. I go to the architect building. I wasn't thinking about going to the NFL. So that was one of the things that people don't know about me, was just, giving 110% of something you love. And you tell God you want to see God laugh. Tell him what your plans were. So my plans was to play and go be an architect. God's plan was for me to play in the league. So that's how that came about. It was just something, don't waste your time. You don't know what the outcome's going to be on the other end.
Right, definitely. So Coach, you, I know you played for the Baltimore Ravens. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Do you play for any other teams or in the NFL?
Yeah, I played Jacksonville, Cincinnati.
Okay, all right. And I know you're part of that Super Bowl team in Baltimore. Talk about that and how that experience was for you.
Man, it was great. A bunch of great guys. But I guess I'll say probably the best organization in the NFL is the Baltimore Ravens. They A1 first class all the way around, and knowing their players, their player coaches. Even when I was there, even the coaches that got there now, because it started with the head. It's just a totally great experience, man. And winning the Super Bowl just put icing on the cake for a well-deserved organization.
Right. Yeah. Talk about, so you said, some of the players you played there with, they were great guys. Talk about some of them. Some of the guys how many guys, stood out to you really that were really, just.
Of course, everybody, the year we won the Super Bowl, we had players across the board. Tony Siragusa, Peter Bower, your Ed Reeds, your Shannon Sharps, your Christian McAllister, your Dwayne Starks, your Rob Woodsons, your Tim Herrings, the whole defense. We set the record for the least amount of points scored in one season. So it was a special group of guys to what I'm just happy I was a part of. Coming from a little school called Tuskegee, playing with these big name guys. And, when I first got there, people don't know this, but my roommate, I was upset because I got picked up out of college to play with Jacksonville. And if you don't know about Jacksonville, that's when they just got done destroying Denver, I think, in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And with the Fred Taylors and all, Tony Pacelli, all those good guys down there. And when I got released from Jacksonville, Baltimore picked me up. I'm like, man, I'm up here with these guys. Man, they don't got no players on this team. And my roommate, I had a roommate when we first got there in a hotel. He's like, man, what you talking about? So he started naming all these Pro Bowlers. I'm like, oh, okay, I guess we are good. Then, what do you know, we win the Super Bowl that same year. Made me eat all my words. I didn't, because in college, like I said, I was wanting to be an architect, so I didn't watch football as much as I could.
Right.
My time was very consumed with architecture and then playing. So my Sundays was all in the draft room, so I didn't watch football as much. So when I got there, I didn't know none of the players. I'm like, man, I'm with these sorry dudes in Baltimore. Needless to say, they was the best team in the league. And some of the best players, Hall of Fame. Like you got to say, so far off the Ravens team, so far I didn't play with at least 4 or 5 Hall of Famers.
Wow.
You see what I'm saying? So not knowing that coming out of college makes me, wow,
Yeah.
God plans were greater than mine, and I love it.
Right, and that's something I noticed of we have our plans here. Like you said, you didn't even think about going to the NFL. You say you wanted to be an architect, and and like I said, we all have our plans, and but God's plans may be different. And you just have to be ready for that. It might not be what you want to do, but if God's plans for you to do something different, obviously that's what you need to be doing. If He plans for you to do that, that's the way I see it. But next question up for you, Coach. So I know as Coach, you also coach too, right?
Yes, sir.
Tell us about your coaching experience as well.
I started off with my cousin at Washington High School.
Okay.
I coached some great players, and just to commute going to the city. I actually ended up at Elka Eagle Atlantic Christian Academy because I started training a kid, and what was his name? Bryce Durden. I started training him.
Yeah.
And after one session of training him, next thing I know, at the training session, a whole bunch of cars pull up. I'm like, what? And it's all the parents at Elka. Have some of the parents at Elka come up to me and say, hey, the coach want to meet you. I said, okay. So I went over and met with Coach Guess, and next thing I know, he offered me the DB job. I've been there 6 years. I coached there good 6 years. 5 state championships.
Yes, sir. And talk about what because Elka's, being successful program that is, and when 5 in a row and 6 overall. Talk about the MO over there and how what played into our success there and the culture.
It's accountability at Elka, and looking back on it, and you get great players, and then you have accountability because of the head coach. Like, it's very seldom, and I was telling people some formula, very seldom you're gonna see the head coach at a JV game and the varsity. You'll see him at the varsity, but the head coach is at the JV game, every single last one of them, because he's holding everybody accountable. He's the weight room coach. You've been held accountable. It ain't what this coach said, it's what the head coach said. So if you don't do what you're supposed to do for Coach Guess, he knows. Because he's there. He holds you accountable. And that's one of the things of success I could say is going into Elka is being accountable, your accountability. You can't say that you were there, the coach didn't see you, when it's the head coach that's actually saying, look, man, you didn't come to the weight room. There's no way around it. Right. The guy that pulls the trigger is the guy who told you you went in there.
Yes, sir. It's totally. Yeah, Coach. I mean, having come to Elka my freshman year, and just over the years being part of such a great program, you learn so much. Like I said, accountability there. Hard work, and every day just getting up and busting your tail. And I think that's one of the reasons why Elka has been one of the most successful programs in high school football over the last couple of years, and not dedicated to that and just the hard work we always put in. So, Coach, next question up for you. What would you tell a high school kid that's not getting recruited right now? What would you tell them? Or, they're in the process, they're a senior and they're trying to get recruited, or a junior, and they haven't had.
As a junior, going into your junior year, what you got to realize, you can't waste your time expecting you to just sign your senior year. Every year got to be your year. And for the seniors coming out, I say if you haven't gotten your offer you wanted, you're not gonna like what I'm gonna say. Go to a prep school.
Really?
A prep school will give you an extra year, like you'll be a 5th year senior. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or 2nd year senior, and it gives you that one more year for scouts and recruits to come look at you. And so I say try to find a prep school that fits your standards and try to go there and play one more year. Or just not unless you're going to settle. Some kids are settle. I say just go do your prep school and see if you can get, hopefully this pandemic is over with next year or somewhat under control to where the scouts can get back out the way they've been doing, and schools can have the seasons they want to have to where it'll work in your favor. But if it don't, you probably got an opportunity of going to a college of your choice after you gave everything you have. You know what I'm saying? So, because it's hard, because it's something that came out of nowhere,
Right.
And it's affected everybody. So the only way you're gonna win if you you find another way of doing it. You can't go about it your same way. Because it's an effect from college down. Because you got to think, I got a sophomore in a classroom in college. He's still a freshman on the field and gonna be a junior. What would you take? You see what I'm saying? Yeah. What would you take to play for you? Would you take that junior that has 2 years of college under his belt, that's been in the program, or you gonna take a kid coming straight out of high school that got 4 years? Both of them still got 4 years. Right. You're gonna take maturity over height. You're gonna take that. Now, unless the kid coming out of high school is just exceptional. You see what I'm saying? So it's hard for these seniors to get the look. Now, unless they just that talented all around. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely.
So it's hard. It's hard. You got to think. Keaton, you played with Keaton.
Yeah.
He's still a freshman on the field, and they had a whole season. So you telling me that kid got 4 more years still? It's hard. So try to steal your year back by going to a prep school. Because if you go to a JUCO, now unless you're going with a 3-point something, that's just, you got to sit there 2 years.
Right. Yeah. Definitely. You know, like you say, it's, you know, the COVID-19 virus really just, I mean, the impact it had on sports is just, you know, it's crazy. Now, like you say, it's just different. You have to go go about things differently than you normally would, because it's not a normal year, not a normal season. And so then that's, you know, I just ask that because, you know, a lot of players right now, a lot of people right now, they're just, you know, they're not getting recruited, and, you know, and they don't know what to do, you know, and they're just, and like you said, just, I mean, that was perfect right there. But Coach, yeah, I appreciate your time tonight. Thank you. Yeah, I'm sure everybody enjoyed the podcast. It was great talking with you, getting different looks and different perspective from you, Coach, and I appreciate it. Have a great night, Coach. Thank you for joining me on the podcast today. It was great.
Man, I appreciate it, man. But just keep fighting, man. Dreams come true when you put your all into it. You know, don't let nobody discourage what you want to do in life, and just have different game plans to be successful. You know?
Absolutely.
And I enjoyed being here. I enjoyed talking to you. And thank you for having me on your podcast.
No problem, Coach. Have a great night. Stay safe.
All right, you too, man.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Everybody, that was Coach Anthony Mitchell, DB NFL, played for the Jacksonville Jaguars, Baltimore Ravens, Cincinnati Bengals, Super Bowl champ, great guy. Had a lot of great things to talk about. But before I go off the podcast, I want to ask you guys if you wouldn't mind praying for 2 families that we lost at Elka, Eagles Land Christian Academy. They lost 2 of their family members. One was the Henderson family. They lost Stephen Henderson, a teacher at Eagles Land Christian, to sickness and illness. And I wanted to ask you guys to pray for them as they struggle during this time. I also wanted to ask that you pray for the Tita family, for their student athlete Rollins Tita. He died in a car accident yesterday, and I ask that you please just pray for their families. They're going through this tough time right now, and as they lost such a great person, hard worker, and I just wanted to ask that you guys would do that. But thank you guys for listening today on Time Out with J-Dog. Tune in next week for another episode. Stay safe. Have a great night.